Today on the show, I'm going to be creating two costumes from Zootopia. I'm going to be cosplaying a gender-bent version of Gazelle and one of her sexy tiger backup dancers. Quickly though, before I get started, I do just want to say that this video was made possible thanks to the very, very nice people over at Amino. For all of you that don't know, Amino is like this master community app that has different sections for pretty much every interest you can imagine. I know there's a comics Amino and a cosplay Amino. I'm part of both of those, but there's also like a Zelda Amino, a Doctor Who Amino. Anything you can imagine, there's one there, and I'm pretty sure you can make your own community yourself as well, which is just perfect. I think my favorite thing about this app, specifically in the cosplay Amino area, is that it's so easy to see different types of cosplay from around the world. Personally, I'm very influenced by Thai cosplayers and sort of Asian cosplayers, just because that's the style that's very, very prominent in my circle of friends. So I don't really get to see American cosplay that much. I don't really pay attention to it, and this app sort of makes me pay attention to it. So that really, really does inspire me to be like, okay, so American cosplayers are doing this, this, and that. How can I use the best of their skills and the best of my skills and bring them together and improve myself as a cosplayer? To download the Amino app, all you have to do is search Amino in the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store, and it's the first one that pops up and you just install it. Then if you want to join Cosplay Amino, just open the app and search Cosplay and Communities. It literally takes seconds. But there are also still prints for my Zootopia cosplay. So go to the app where I've posted the still prints and you can see them there. I'm actually going to leave them exclusive to the app for 2 whole days, and then I'm going to post them to my Facebook. So if you want to be amongst the first to see them, go and see them on the app and let me know what you think. Like, just leave a comment. It's super easy to do. Also, I recommend that you go and look at other cosplayers as well and see what they're doing. Cosplay isn't just about me. I know I am a legend, icon, and star, but cosplay isn't all just about me, so please go and look at other cosplayers as well. Honestly, I love the Amino apps because it really does make a very, very stable environment to be in for people that have the same interests as you. I remember when I was young, we had web forums. They were good for the time, but Amino is so much better. I would have killed for something like this when I was growing up. So I had quite a limited budget for this cosplay that I went over. Most of my costumes cost upwards of $500 to $600, and this one I was trying to work in the $300 to $400 area. I went over. It's fine. Initially I wanted to cosplay Nova, but then I was like, I want to wait till my body's bulked out a bit. So then Zootopia came out. I finally was able to see it when it came to the UK, and it was titled Zootropolis. And I fell in love with the idea of Gazelle and the sexy tiger backup dancers because, one, it's objectified males, and personally I'm a bit of an exhibitionist. I love to allow myself to be objectified. I love to be walking fan service essentially. So that was the perfect cosplay for me, but I was like, okay, the tigers can't stand on their own. So then I came up with the idea of doing a gender-bent Gazelle when I saw a Thai cosplayer I really look up to do something very, very similar, or basically do the same cosplay. So then I just kind of based this idea off of his Zootopia prints. Making this costume was actually a lot simpler than you would think. First off, I started by patterning Gazelle's trousers. That was what I did first. I used a 4-way stretch imitation leather, which was kind of easy to work with, but it didn't have too much stretch. It was only a 30% stretch. The way you calculate how much stretch something has is you hold it against a ruler, then put your thumb at 10 centimeters. And then you stretch the fabric, and when you can't stretch it anymore, that's the stretch percentage it has. I think this one had a total of 40 or 50% stretch percentage, so I actually lowered it down to 30% so I'd be able to move in the trousers. And then it was just a case of patterning and sewing them, which is a little bit like painting by numbers. You just follow your guide of patterning. You can buy pre-made patterns. I personally have never fully used a pre-made pattern because if I buy one, I just buy it to look at it and then make my own based off of that. I also decided to cut out the tiger trousers on the same day, but for the tiger trousers I made them a little bit tighter because I wanted them to be a bit fan servicey, and I also made them super, super, super low rise. For the shiny parts of the tiger's trousers, at first I was going to cut out sections of the trousers and then sort of just replace it with the silver material, but then it turned out that my silver fabric didn't actually have enough stretch in it to do this. If it was a different silver fabric, I would have done this, but for this one it just didn't have enough stretch, so I needed to instead just do a top stitch. To do this, what I did was I cut out all of the shapes that I wanted the silver stripes to be in, and then I sewed it so the outside was actually on the inside, then flipped it inside out, a bit like you would make a pillow, and then I just top stitched that onto the costume. This wasn't the ideal way to do it, and as this went on, I did realize that once I bulked up a bit more, and I am gaining more muscle at the moment, I'm on a very, very strict regimen to gain muscle as fast as possible, that I will probably be redoing the tiger cosplay. Gazelle's top was very, very interesting and probably the most expensive part about this costume, believe it or not. I made it out of silk satin, and the bias tape I used was also silk satin. Silk is expensive. This was incredibly excessive for a print cosplay, but I didn't mind because I wanted this to be the best Gazelle cosplay I could make. It was just a standard t-shirt pattern, and looking back, I do wish I made the back fitted, but then the front very drapey. As for all of my seams, I actually did French seams. To do a French seam, all you do is you sew all of your seams wrong sides together, which you normally wouldn't do. So basically, the part that will be showing on the outside when you finish your costume, you'll be sewing that showing on the outside. Then you trim your hem allowance down, turn your costume inside out, and then sew your seams as normal, and then that's it done. So all of your frayed edges are actually trapped on the inside of this little case that you've just made. I always find that this is a good alternative to using an overlocker, especially with fabrics like silk, which tend to be a little bit slippy, and overlockers don't tend to like them. Personally, I'm a Faust and I don't like overlockers, so I will always go for using French seams. The bias binding I used around the neckline of the t-shirt was also made out of silk satin. Then I already had my Gazelle wig, it was my Link wig, and I just used a hair straightener in it. And then my tiger wig was just an orange wig I went through with an orange Sharpie, and that was it done. And that was that costume. It was incredibly simple to make, but incredibly fun to do. I definitely want to do more Zootopia cosplays in the future. I'm doing Nick Wilde as a police officer because that's a great idea. I want to do movie Nick Wilde. Like I said, I'm redoing the tigers in the future because I am on this bulking diet at the moment. I'm trying to gain like 30 to 40 kilos of muscle mass. That's going to take a long time, but maybe once I'm at the halfway point, I'll revisit the tigers. Overall, I think this went well. I think that the prints came out really, really well. I love the motion print. I'm doing motion prints for all of my cosplays in the future, so watch this space. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. So do you like Zootopia, and what did you think of my cosplay? Please let me know in the comments down below. But for now, my name is Faust, this has been a cosplay video, and it is super effective. Now seriously, go and check out the Amino people because they were really, really nice enough to fund this video. I spent all of the money they sent me on this video. They didn't send me enough to cover this costume because that was really high quality silk I used. When I say that silk was excessive, it was excessive. I got that silk from the same place that supplies all the fabrics that the people that make Game of Thrones costumes get their fabrics from. Like, I could have been wearing the same silk as Cersei Lannister. It was excessive, I know. Then we have saved Tsubasa, and we've turned two of the bad guys good, and somehow our character's new to fusion digivolve with the now good bad guys. I'm very confused. There's actually no way for me to rip on the battle system. I find it incredibly fun. It's the exact same battle system found in the Persona games, and that's when Itsuki finally asks, what the fuck is going on? In real life, in a situation where you're surrounded by a bunch of potential murderers and no one knows what's going on, you're probably gonna die. We get a text from our friend telling us how to get out of this mysterious world, but we're not questioning how he knows anything. Like, in real life, I'd be like, how the fuck do you know where I am? This is a mysterious world filled with ghosts, monsters, and Digimon, and somehow I can now fusion Digivolve. What the fuck? Then we have to fight the guy in a suit. I wish that was my first time saying that I had to fight a guy in a suit, but honestly, I work in show businesses, and this is a dog-eat-dog world. And I also don't wear suits. Our friend eventually turns up, and it turns out that he can Digivolve too. The guy in a suit turns into this thing. Why is his head sticking out the top? Am I the only one finding this gross? It's like, you know, in a sausage factory where they just have all the meat turn into like a tube of meat. It sort of reminds me of that. The first boss was honestly very, very easy, and then Toma